We begin with some distressing news coming out of Ethiopia. 4 people have been confirmed dead in an explosion at a rally in the capital, Addis Ababa. The rally was being held in support of the country's Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed Ali. Sources say police are treating the attack as an assassination attempt against the Prime Minister. Ahmed has outlined a series of radical reforms since taking office in April. A member of the rally's organisers says the explosion could have been from a grenade, which was hurled into the crowd. Well, the Prime Minister described the incident as an unsuccessful attempt by forces who do not want to see Ethiopia united. Well, let's get you an update on this developing story. CGTN's Coletta Wanjoy joins me on the line from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Coletta, initial reports say a number of people were killed in that blast in Addis Ababa. What more do we know about what led to this explosion?
Well, what happened is today had been planned much earlier, that it would be a day for what they call a peaceful demonstration in support of the new Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed. A lot was said on social media. The mobilization was mainly done on social media. And I can tell you there were thousands and thousands of people as early as 7 a.m. heading to the Meskel Square, which is a point where many people usually have gatherings, especially national gatherings. So there were people in jubilation mood, singing, dancing, and all that. Then the Prime Minister appeared also wearing a T-shirt that also had support for himself, and people were happy. He gave a speech, and right after the speech, when he sat down, as the people were moving on to the next stage in the program, that's when we had a blast. And the blast was on the right side of the podium where he was seated, on the stage where he was seated. He stood up to look at what was happening, and after a while we saw him being rushed away from the podium or from the stage where he was seated. And that's when we started seeing people running around. There was so much confusion. At first there was speculation as to what had really happened. Some people were saying it was probably a car tire that had burst. Others were saying it is such as the noise was too loud, it was a bomb. There was a lot of speculation until he went on national media himself. The Prime Minister confirmed that it was a bomb and people had been killed. And as of now, the Chief of Staff has just put up a report that 83 people are the ones who have been injured so far. So some were rushed to the hospital, and according to some eyewitnesses, they say the person who tried to throw the bomb was somebody who tried to throw actually a grenade, and some people tried to stop him from hurling it to the stage. So there is, as of now, we just know it's a bomb. People have been injured, some others killed. We are waiting for the security forces to really put out a report as to what exactly happened.
And Coletta, at this point, is there any indication of just who might have been behind this attack and the motive?
Well, during the Prime Minister's address to the nation right after the incident, he said that this was an act of people who are probably against the progress that Ethiopia is kind of making right now. He did not say names, he did not specify who, so it's just an open statement that was left out there. So, and he has asked people to volunteer information if they know or have any information as to whoever could have planned this kind of sad incident. So it's just speculation. At the moment, I can just tell you speculation until probably the security forces come out with a stage report, or the government comes out with a stage report and pinpoints. We understand that some arrests have already been made for people who will help with the investigation, and we are hoping to get more in the course of the day probably.
Okay, CGTN's Coletta Wanjoy there. Thank you for that update from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, following that explosion there at the rally. Well, meanwhile, Ethiopian rebel group Ginbot 7 has suspended its armed resistance against the government. The group says reforms by the country's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali have given it hope. In a statement, the group says its forces have been ordered to refrain from any sort of armed resistance. Formed after the disputed 2005 election, the group has claimed numerous deadly attacks in the past decade. Authorities have previously used alleged association with the group as justification to imprison opponents. Well, the move comes weeks after former Secretary General of Ginbot 7, Adagachu Tsiga, was freed from prison. Well, CGTN's Giram Chala joins me on the line with an update on that ceasefire. Giram, what more can you tell us about this decision by the Ginbot rebel group to suspend its armed resistance?
Well, this development is an important development for the country. As you know, Gimbot 7, or as is known in Ethiopia, Gimbot 7, was one of the parties designated by Ethiopia's parliament as a terrorist group. And they took up arms against the government after the 2005 election failed, and they were expelled, imprisoned first, and they left the country to come together as this party, which decided to topple the government through arms. Now, this development, as we've said earlier, came after Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed introduced reform into the country, freeing prisoners and opening the political space in the country. Gimbot 7 is not the first party to accept this. As you remember, the Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, leaders also came back to the country, deciding to fight through peaceful means and through political means only. So we have heard from the government that this is a welcoming development.
And let's talk about these far-reaching reforms that the new Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali has put into place since taking over. What has been the main impact of these changes?
Well, the impact was seen especially today. Earlier in your story, you talked about how millions have rallied to support their Prime Minister's reform agenda. The Prime Minister time and again talked about patience, time and again talked about forgiveness, and that's why he released prisoners, and he called on all political parties inside or abroad to come together back to their country and peacefully, take the government position if they can through elections. His reforms also show that there is patience in the country, whether you are using social media, whether you are using political means to antagonize the government, to oppose the government. It is okay, and it's a democratic exercise. These kind of things are giving people hope, and many more are coming back. Just yesterday, more than 300 websites and bloggers were opened again after they were blocked for quite some time because of what the government said before, divisive opinions and warmongerings happening on these platforms. So the reforms are far-reaching. The reforms are on the security structure. The reforms are on the politics. The reforms are on the economy. And everyone is excited at the moment to see the country advancing to the future.
Okay, thank you for that update. That was CGTN's Giram Chala there on the ceasefire in Ethiopia.